Alright, got my new dust shield here, black powder coated. They do sell a stainless steel one, but for $100 extra, I think it was. No thank you. Okay, and that just goes on like so. You can see. Just make sure you're putting the right ones on. You can't really screw it up. The bolts won't line up with the gap where the caliper's got to be here. So it's not that hard to figure out. Alright, new dust shield's on. You can see the importance here. Alright, this protects your brake rotor, but the center section keeps a lot of the crap from going into your wheel bearings from behind. You know, it's a Jeep. You're going to be in the water and mud and whatnot. Last thing you want to do is be packing it full of mud in here and putting extra strain on your seal for your wheel bearings. Alright, so now we're going to deal with the brake rotor itself. Again, like I said, you got to take the lug studs out. There's your hub. Liberated from your rusty old rotor. Alright, so once you got your surface here cleaned off, and it could get pretty rusty in here, I just sprayed it with some WD and give it a quick wipe. It's pretty decent. I'm putting in lug studs. You can see how that works. Alright, you got the part here with the knurls that goes into the hub, and this expanded part goes into the rotor. It all works together to hold the whole mess in place. Now I've got the press over here set up. All I need to do is push down on each one. You can, if you don't have a press, use a C-clamp. I've also done it where I just use a socket. Put a socket on the end and okay. That's not the preferred method because okay, so there's your finished assembly. Lugs are all pressed in. You can see it's all one piece now. There's no play in between. Even if there is a little bit of play, I wouldn't be too concerned because you got to bolt your wheel on and it's going to pull it all together like a big sandwich anyways. Alright, so we'll put our freshly packed bearing in. We just lift up on the hub a bit and slide it in as far as you can get it. Don't worry if it's loose, you got to tighten it up anyways. We got a flat tabbed washer. Okay, it's got a little tab here that lines up with the slot in the spindle, which in my case is down here. The slot on yours could be in different places because you can rotate that spindle. Normally I like to see it up higher, that way you can see it. This one's down. And try to keep your hands free of debris when you're doing this. The last thing you want to do is put some dirt or sand or rust or something in there because it'll roll into your bearings and end their life prematurely. A lot of people wear gloves when they're doing this kind of thing. I hate wearing gloves because I can't feel the grit, whereas I can with my bare fingers. It's personal preference, and I made it to 50 without getting some weird cancer from handling grease and stuff, so I think I'm doing pretty damn good. Alright, once you got your first washer in, you put one of your nuts in. Okay, so all I did there, set my torque wrench to 50, tighten up the interlock nut to 50 while turning the wheel. Alright, show you there. And it's a little easier on the car. There's 50. Alright, turns freely. Okay, and then you want to check it. There should be no sloppiness or play, certainly in or out, and it should roll freely. There should be just a little bit of resistance, and I mean that's bearings rolling in grease, so that's normal. If it's rolling too freely, it's too loose. Alright, so we're just going to put that in. Okay, torque that one down to 50 as well. That's turn it. And we still roll good. Alright. No problem there. Now we just got to bend our washer. And what I'll do is I just use a drift. Inner one's bent. A bar helps, and they're a bit of a beast. So you need a pretty stout bar. And you can see there, she's all bent in. No problem. You can pry pretty hard on the hub. It's a solid piece of metal. It's going to give, the washer's going to give long before that outer piece of metal. So don't be afraid to come onto it with a bar. All right, so we're tabbed here. We're tabbed at the bottom. We got good play there in our bearing. Rotates nicely. What I like to do here is pack a whole bunch of grease in there. Okay, and that just goes back any which way. And I'm just very lightly tapping it into place here. You can see it's good enough. Alright, same thing for the hub. This one's actually pretty dry inside, so I definitely want to put some more grease in that. Alright, last step, line it up over the gear, goes into the other gear here on the locker, and doesn't matter, there's no master key or anything, it just plain lines up. Now you can put some Loctite on these if you desire. I don't bother because it's a bolt that you can see pretty easily. And we'll do our little trick again, since I'm not on the vehicle. You can torque these later when it's on the vehicle and the tires are on the ground. Doesn't really matter, but I'm here now, so I'll do it now. Okay, before I put your brakes back on, brake cleaner is a good idea here because you've been handling the rotors, and even if you're being careful, it's likely that you got some grease on there. Okay, so you want to apply your lubricant here. Usually your new pads will come with a little packet similar to this. You can get away with a white lithium grease or something like that. Put it this way, anything's better than nothing. Make sure your surfaces are clean first, obviously. Alright, there's our new pads. You can tell there is a difference. Okay, one has a hole in it and you notice a cutout. Okay, this one is much sharper cutout. Doesn't have this extra part here. Alright, the one with the holes and the cutouts goes on the inside. You're never going to be able to fit this one in here because this part will hit the housing that holds the, the bracket that holds the brake caliper on. So this is your outer. Springs always get in the way. That one's your outer, and the one with the holes in this case is your inner. And sometimes they need a little gentle persuasion. This time they went in by hand. Alright, so put them in, squeeze them in, they're in place. Now, okay, calipers next. Remember, there's a cutout on one end here and not on the other. All right, so the cutout goes in first around this area. You can see how it slides in, and then you can slide it back in. If you try to go back first, okay, it won't go. You see how it hits. Oh, front first, drops right in. Sorry, that's the back. Okay, your pins, I like to put a little bit of grease on them. Alright, when you go to put the bolts in, just push in on the pins and wiggle it up and down like so, and you'll feel the threads catch. There's not a lot of play in this design and this particular model. Some of the other cars can be a little bit more frustrating. Alright, the last thing I did was pack the Allen bolts there that hold the calipers on. Pack the head of those with some grease. Just put it on your finger and dab it in the end. Work it around a bit. You'll thank yourself for doing it the next time you got to do brakes and they're not full of mud and rust and all worn out. Nice and clean. All you do is push the Allen head in and the grease comes out and you're good to go. Alright, the retainer springs there, the anti-vibration springs. I hate these things. This is a horrible design, but this is what you get. They just clip back in like that. Alright, and they're just there to keep the pads from clanking and banging and vibrating, making all kinds of noise. There we are. Alright, so this is how you do the rotors, lug nuts, dust shield, caliper, brake pads, hub assembly on an 82 CJ7 with a Dana 30 front end. I hope that was a bit of a help to you. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll get to doing some more Jeep stuff here as the parts come in. Have a good one.